Okay, well, good morning. This is a third day into lessons of a workbook for A Course in Miracles. And lesson number 3, I do not understand anything I see in this room. Some of you may find that personally insulting too. You know, I was thinking back to when I first did these lessons myself. And of course, there was a period of time when I started the lessons and I stopped for a little while and I decided to start them again. And there were intervals where I missed a couple days. But I remember thinking at a certain point in time, and this lesson sort of has some indication as to why it happens, that the simple sentence, I do not understand anything I see in this room, on this street, from the window, from my desk at work, from the car I'm driving, in the store that I'm shopping in. You know, I remember there's a statement here, and it says, some of the things you see may have emotionally charged meaning for you. And I remember in a couple of incidences where there was something that had emotionally charged meaning for me, I remember how completely unable I was to even recall the simple sentence of the lesson. I do not understand anything I see in this room. And for some of you, maybe you've had that experience, you know, these simple sentence, not very long, not very complicated. And in the middle of your desire to want to do this the right way, all of a sudden you can't remember what the sentence is, and it's only a few words long. You know, the ego starts to think, well, what am I going to do when I get to the back of the lessons? And the lessons are like 2, 3, 4 lines long. I can't remember. And you begin to judge yourself and judge what's going on. And right here in this lesson, one of the things it says, these are not exercises in judgment. You're not being asked to judge anything. You're not being asked to judge the suitability for the application of any particular situation, of any particular idea. You're just being asked simply to apply this to the best of your ability, with the willingness to include as much as you can, exclude as little as possible, and not have your inclusions or your exclusions based on judgment. Meaning, we're all very willing to include things that we don't like. Therefore, we're also very willing to exclude things that we do like. And that's what we're supposed to step back from. We're supposed to step back and try to lay such feelings aside and merely use these things exactly as you would use every other lesson. Just simply say the lesson, I do not understand anything I see in this room. So it's interesting. I assure you that as you persist in following these simple exercises, the things that you're thinking will not be difficult at all. And there is no sort of block to your ability to utilize and learn from these lessons, quite simply because the lessons as they're laid out are designed to help remove the blocks to learning. One of the things that we talked about yesterday was the idea that transfer of your learning does not proceed in the same way when we're seeking, our mind is set on true perception, on right-mindedness. The transfer of learning that allows us to experience true perception and right-mindedness does not occur in the same manner by which we've attempted to learn how to solve the problems that are presented to us in our daily egoic life in order to survive and stay here as a human being and be successful in the world. They're diametrically opposed goals. So there's an interesting line in this lesson, and it sort of indicates, it speaks to that, to the idea that the transfer of learning is not going to take place in the same way, and it'll take some pressure and stress out of your attempt to do these lessons when we begin to recognize what's really being asked of us. And the line is, the point of these exercises is to help you clear your mind of all your past associations. Now, when he talks about past associations, what he's talking about is the way our mind puts things together, the way we associate. You know, there is a type of therapy called free association, where, you know, somebody would show you a Rorschach, a design, or give you a phrase, and your mind would just say what it thought of next, how it associated. Our mind and our life is based on these associations that we formed in our thinking, that lead us to conclusions based on the way these associations are put together. It's like dominoes. So you hit one domino and it's the next domino, and that produces a reaction, and that's the way we think. We're conditioned by the associations we formulated in our mind, and they're not necessarily true. And that's what this lesson is bringing to our attention. The point of the exercise is to help you clear your mind of all past associations, to see things exactly as they appear to you now. Not as they are now, but as they appear to you now. We're trying to get a handle on how exactly they appear to us, not as they are yet, but as they appear to us. And to realize, and this is the kicker, this is where we begin to see that this does not proceed in the same manner that we have been proceeding in order to be successful at our jobs or as parents or in relationships. To see things exactly as they appear to you now, and to realize how little you really understand about them. Not how much you understand, not how much all your understanding put together has gotten you so far, but begin to recognize that if nothing I see means anything, and I've given everything I've seen all the meaning that it has for me, then I don't necessarily understand anything that's going on in this room, because it's all made up based on the associations in my mind, based on how the dominoes are falling in my mind to produce the thinking that I think is the manner by which I succeed in the world. None of that is true. And it also accounts for the individual nature of what we're attempting to do, because everybody's associations aren't the same. You know, I used to talk about this when I did a lot more teaching. If I sent 10 people out and said, okay, just bring me back red paint, there would be a variation in the shades of red, because everybody associates red in their own mind, in their own way, and they think that's what red is. Red appears to be that to them. It's not necessarily true that that's what red is, but that's the way this works. So we're going to undo those associations that causes us to think that the way things appear to us now is actually the way they are, and to realize how little you really understand about them. And I think that's key. We're not being given an assignment where we're supposed to figure out how much understanding we have. The ability to have our minds cleared of past associations comes with the recognition, and perhaps a continued deepening recognition as we go along, that things aren't the way they appear to be. And perhaps I have not understood what's been going on around me. And certainly, if we're doing these lessons, it is helpful to recognize that we don't understand because we're freeing our mind from the past and we're using a reasonable, logical way of thinking that's not opposed, as a matter of fact, to the way you've been thinking in the past. It just has a different goal and proceeds in a different manner to produce a slightly different outcome. So we have to realize today how little we really do understand. Now, for many of you, that could be personally insulting, especially when you've based your life and your existence, your identity, your reputation, on being the person that understands and can help other people understand. Well, here, your understanding is the booby prize, actually, because right now the great equalizer is none of us really understands what's going on here. So there's no real benefit. In regards to what we're attempting to have happen by the utilization of the workbook of A Course in Miracles. So the recognition that we don't understand and we don't have to understand doesn't necessarily have to be a personal insult. It could be quite liberating. It frees us from the tension, that strict tension in our mind of trying to hold things together where perhaps they're already ready to fall apart because there's nothing holding them together other than the thoughts in our mind, and there's no good reason for it either. We're not attempting to be successful in the world through understanding. We're attempting to undo to clear our minds of the past understanding. So it is therefore essential that you keep a perfectly open mind, unhampered by judgment, in selecting the things to which the idea for today is being applied. For this purpose, one thing is like another, equally suitable and therefore equally useful. So don't let, in a sense, when something comes up that has an emotional charge for you, the tendency in human thinking is to give greater weight to what we feel has a higher emotional charge, be it what we call hate or be it what we call love. So it becomes more and more difficult to allow the meaninglessness of those emotionally charged things and our lack of understanding to be recognized, because so much of our energy and our identity is based in making that true for ourselves, because it establishes for us a reasonability and a logic for the person or the people that we think we are, and the people and the places and things that we think we're reacting to and responding and living with. So the degree to which we could loosen our mind and allow ourselves to be free from those past associations by perhaps stepping back from those emotional charges, be they love or hate, and allowing for an instant everything to be equal in its value or lack of value, in its meaninglessness or in its meaning, to allow us a moment to step back and create some space and open some space in our mind for something new to dawn on us, some new idea, some light to get in there. And that's what we're after in these. So remember, the success is not based on understanding these. You're not asked to understand them. They're not exercises in understanding. This one, it's clear, is an exercise in recognizing how little you understand. So today, for a second, you can celebrate the foibles of being a human being and laugh at the idea that you have to understand everything in order to survive here, because you don't. Quite frankly, the attempt to understand is what keeps us in tense nature, the tense nature of space and time, operating within the associations of our mind, producing the stuckness, those little aches and pains that show up when we're attempting to keep things together that actually don't require our attention whatsoever. So good luck. Remember, your success isn't based on what you understand. The success today is just based on your new occupation of being a student of A Course in Miracles and completing the workbook in the amount of time we have assigned to us. So do the lesson as the lesson comes up to be done. Be satisfied with what you've accomplished in the doing of the lesson. Don't worry about how the lesson works. Don't worry about trying to understand it. Don't worry about trying to understand how you're going to get tomorrow's lesson done or the lesson 350 days from now done. None of that has any value. And it's that type of thinking that we're going to leave behind. So you guys have a good day.